Hey there, and welcome back to 31 Days of Horror. Today we are on day 6, and today I checked out Spirit Halloween, the movie. Um, Ridiculous in concept, but I have to tell you, I went into this with a very specific purpose. I was looking for a movie that could be the next kind of Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town under wraps, Frankenweenie, Paranorman, those kind of Monster House, those kind of spooky yet like kid appropriate movies that they can enjoy spooky season too. I have a child of my own, and I'm always looking for cool, Halloween spooky movies that we can watch together because the truth is, I don't get to watch, horror with him very often because he's young. And I certainly don't want him to be exposed to things that he's not, ready for. But he likes spooky things and he likes what mom likes. And it's cool to be able to share those things with him. So I'm always on the lookout for, movies that he would enjoy or that we would enjoy together. And so I figured I would check out Spirit Halloween, the movie, because he gets so excited when Spirit opens every year, the store. Um, and so I was like, oh, this would be cool. So I checked it out. I figured it's PG-13 horror movie. And a lot of times, PG-13 is the difference between one scene that's a little bit much or one F-bomb getting dropped or something like that. And those are pretty easy to navigate when you have kids. But unfortunately, and I'll tell you this up front, Spirit Halloween is your typical PG-13 horror movie, and I do not recommend it. And that sucks because it had a lot of potential to be a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I think it's a shame that they missed out on a lot of opportunities. So I think we'll, just dive into it. We'll talk a little bit about that. Um, First of all, this is a Spirit Halloween store movie. It was made by the store, it promotes the store, I guess. And somehow they roped poor Christopher Lloyd into this. And the man is old. He's a legend. He's epic. Please stop roping him into bad movies. And honestly, I'm not even really going to give you a plot synopsis because there's no point in giving you a plot synopsis. It doesn't make that much sense. It's not acted very well. They threw way too many details at you, trying to give you tragic backstories, the reasons why characters did stuff. And we've talked about with the other movies that I've watched for the 31 days, less is more a lot when you're looking at horror, and especially when you're looking at horror and it involves, kids, or it's from the kid's perspective, or it has those elements. Much less is more. Because I don't know about you, but I certainly find that in real life situations, I have no idea what's going on most of the time. When there's chaos going on, there isn't somebody, spouting exposition for you, telling you what's going on. There is no magic book that has a secret entry telling you everything you need to know about a situation or how to fix it. There's usually no secret spell book telling you how to defeat the evil. You just sort of go with the flow and figure it out as you're going. Not like I have a whole lot of experience fighting evil, but in every situation I've ever been in, there's usually no guidebook on how to handle it, and I feel like a horror movie would probably be similar. So does this movie include a Spirit Halloween store? Yes, it does. Does the Spirit Halloween store resemble every Spirit Halloween I've ever been in? Yes, it does. It is literally just a Halloween outlet store that inhabits, abandoned buildings in the Halloween season, and it is no different in this film. The main plot is about kids struggling with growing up or staying young. Then there's a evil spirit floating around a town looking for a body to inhabit for some time on Halloween, I guess. And the main event of the movie is 4 kids locked in a Spirit Halloween store. They, broke in. They were going to spend the night to do something spooky on Halloween. And then this evil spirit that's hanging around the town decides to possess the animatronics in the store and go after the kids looking for a body, and then there's some witch stuff going on. But so my expectation going into this is I'm thinking, okay, it's a store that you're making this movie of. It's going to be a little like the Lego movie where everything's a product, everything's an advertisement. This is going to be a showcase of the products that the Spirit Halloween store sells. They're going to be doing cool things with their animatronics and putting them at the forefront. I mean, you got to figure this is an opportunity to essentially be a 2-hour long or an hour and a half. I'm not even really sure how long the movie was. Advertisement for a company that doesn't need to advertise. I mean, Spirit Halloween shows up beginning of September every year. People wait for it. They find out the locations. They go. They don't need to advertise for this place. And so then they put out a movie, and you figure this is like a 2-hour advertisement. You can get generations of people excited about your products, excited about your things. And they didn't even bother doing that. And I think it was interesting when watching the movie, realizing that Spirit Halloween doesn't really have products that are readily familiar to people. And that's weird to think about because we think about, we all recognize it. We, clamor to go. They sell costumes, they sell animatronics. We even have a few at my own home. But I couldn't honestly tell you the names of any of their animatronics or anything like that. So there wasn't even anything to showcase, which is a shame. I mean, you think about it, like Home Depot could make Home Depot the movie and the main villain can be the 12-foot skeleton and everybody would get it. Be like, oh, dang, that's the 12-foot Home Depot skeleton. And so Home Depot could make a movie like that. But unfortunately, Spirit Halloween really, it's about what they come out with every year. But so I was chatting with my husband a little bit about it, and we were just talking about, so what products is Spirit really known for? They're known for the jumping spider animatronics, which are brilliant. I don't think I know anybody who hasn't been spooked by one of those at some point. And they're known for their freaky demon babies, the rubberized kind of. I know people who every year they wait for the new ones that come out at Spirit and they get them. I'm like, those are two things that people are terrified of spiders. Nobody likes creepy babies. And so you have these two things at your disposal that are not branded. They're not a franchise brand. They're just a product that Spirit comes out with every year that they really could have showcased in terrifying ways. And they just didn't. I mean, they showed the jumping spiders, but really only in the context of going into the actual store and being spooked by it. But if you think about it, you could have had an entire product wall of jumping spiders that then were possessed and come to life. And that would have been a terrifying scene because nobody likes spiders, right? Or you could have had those demon babies get possessed. Nobody likes demon babies either. Plus, if they're moving around and they're walking and they're talking and they're doing their creepy demon baby stuff around you, guaranteed scare. So you already, left out on that. Then you have the kids, and they made everything pretty cliched. Somebody's parent died tragically. Somebody else, has an absentee parent. They're struggling with, oh, this is our last year of middle school. Next year we're in high school, and we have to stop doing baby things like Halloween and blah, blah, blah. I get it. But you kind of have to, when you're making a movie, you have to decide what kind of movie you're going to make. And if you want to make a spooky movie, you got to decide, where you're going to go with it. Otherwise, you end up in the weird limbo of PG-13 horror movies. And the reason that I call it a limbo is because PG-13 horror movies aren't for anybody. A lot of times they have a good concept. They might have great casting. But at the end of the day, PG-13 horror movies are in this odd space because PG-13 is too grown up to be recommended for children. So there's going to be things in here that are not appropriate for kids, so it's not going to be a family movie. But PG-13 movies at the same time also don't go far enough for that R rating, so they don't always complete the circuit of a story, or there's certain aspects of it that just don't get fully realized, or there's certain pieces that they introduced that it's really hard to do without that R rating. And so PG-13 movies end up in this weird limbo space where they're not actually made for anybody. You kind of watch the end of the movie and you go, okay, well, this was really stupid and childish, so it's clearly not an adult movie. But it also was too mature for children, so it's not a children's movie either. It's just in this weird limbo hell of nobody will enjoy this. Um, and I think it's unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate there's an entire genre of movies that um, have decent concepts, decent stories, um, good acting, and good crew and directors and stuff behind it, but they're so afraid of going for that R rating, or the studio is afraid of going for that R rating, that they kind of force things and cut things and trim stories, and it's always to the detriment of the film. And I also think that one of the downfalls of this is that it had a lot of potential. I mean, it could have been Goosebumps, which is also not the best movie in the entire world, but it's entertaining. At least the first one. I don't really remember much about the second one. I've seen them both, but like once again I said, not great movies, but entertaining. And you had the potential of doing that with this particular movie. I don't know if you just saw that little tail. That is one of my dogs. That is Rocky. He's just come to keep me a little company. But anyway, this movie had a lot of potential, and I think if they had gone in some different directions, I think if they had picked a very specific direction, it definitely could have been very successful. And I think it has the potential. I mean, if you look at movies like Black Friday is a really good example. That came out a couple of years ago. It's literally about a toy store on Black Friday with, and there is a zombie apocalypse type event, and there are these employees who are trapped in a toy store, and it is very entertaining, tongue-in-cheek. There are some humor, there's some scares. The cast in that is great. You have Bruce Campbell and Devon Sawa, who lead the project, and they are always brilliant in what they do, and that made for a really fun scary kind of horror movie. And this had the potential to be the same. You have the trapped in the store vibes, and there's so much you can do with that, especially when you're talking about a store that's literally full of Halloween costumes, animatronics, props, decorations, and branding on the walls. They have the costume pictures, they have the branded franchise things, which I do know are difficult to bring in, but they also have plenty of things that aren't branded that are just as scary. I mean, if you look at the wall of masks, I mean, the one that's just all eyeballs isn't from something, but that's pretty creepy. Eyeballs creep people out. There's plenty of things that are there for the scares, and they just didn't use any of them. And then they really relied heavily on this, friendship and relationships between these characters, but they never fully realized any of them. And to be perfectly honest, I watched the movie, and I watched it this afternoon. I had no other distractions. I wasn't doing anything else. I wasn't playing a game. I wasn't on my phone. Nobody else was even home to distract me. And I can't honestly tell you any of the characters' names in this movie. And I think that's a shame. Because like I said, I went into it with high hopes of maybe this being a new, type of movie that we could add to the yearly spooks that we watch in October. But unfortunately, I don't recommend this. I don't give it any stars. This movie was bad, and it should feel bad. And it should feel especially bad that it pulled Christopher Lloyd and Rachel Lee Cook into this disaster of a movie that thankfully has been out for a couple years now, and I don't know anybody who's ever seen it, and I don't know anybody who's ever even mentioned to me that they've seen it, and I think we should keep it that way. So, long story short, PG-13 horror movies are not the vibe, and studios really need to stop making them because nobody enjoys them, and they just end up going to movie hell where nobody watches them, nobody sees them, and the only time that they ever get watched is if you've exhausted all of your other possibilities when you're browsing your streaming services, and this is all that's left. So take a pass on this one. Nobody needs to be watching the Spirit Halloween movie. Just stick to popping in the store once a year, grabbing a costume, getting your animatronics, your decorations, or whatever, and leave it at that. Let's leave movie making to not pop up Halloween stores. All right? Have a great day, guys. And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. I would like to see some comments down below, just because I always love these conversations. It's just me chit-chatting with my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours. Talk to you later.